Perfect. All right, welcome everybody. So we're going to start a little bit with some hamstring stretching. So take one foot, place it a few feet behind the other, and they're like on railroad, not in line. There's some, railroad tracks separate from each other. Press the bottom back and just lean forward a little bit here. So my feet are flat. I'm not lifting my toes or anything here, but I'm just kind of starting mild. You could hold on to a desk, a table, something out in front of you if you like. My back knees may be a little bit bent as I press into this. And then if you're feeling okay here, you can bring those hands all the way down towards the ground. Again, this back knee can be a little bit bent, or you can start to straighten it as well into pure pyramid. And then I've got my head up even with my heart, so I'm not hanging forward. I'm just kind of loosening up the hamstring here a bit. Nice. Couple of breaths here. And then we'll just step in. We'll start to switch that out, maybe lift the hands back up to start. So we get that second leg. So hamstrings can be pretty tight muscles, so I don't like to just jump you right into it. So starting a little milder with that hamstring, some hands up. Again, this back knee can be bent or straight. Front knee, we're working to straighten it, but you can see on this side on me, my hamstring's tight, my knee's a little bit bent. And then if everything feels good there, then I can reach the hands down towards the ground. Nice. Couple of breaths right here. Excellent. And then we'll come down a little bit lower, coming into the hip flexor. So right foot comes forward, left leg comes back behind you. Go ahead and drop that back knee, uncurl your back toes. You can always place a pillow underneath that back knee, or you could take your mat, if you're on a mat, and kind of crunch it under, giving yourself a little cushion under that back knee. And then just start with your hands down here on the ground. Think about pulling long forward so you feel that stretch into that hip flexor. And then if everything feels good here and you want to raise that up, that'll bring that stretch a little deeper. And then you can kind of rest on the right arm, and you can add bringing that left arm up if you want. So I'm trying not to press directly on the kneecap. You actually should be kind of at the front of the kneecap, that front edge of the kneecap. And then if you want a little bit more here, you can add the side bend. Reaching over. Nice, excellent, welcome. We still have a couple of people making their way in. Welcome Kelsey and Kathy and Megan, Eileen, Amanda, Anne Marie, Linda has joined us. Right there. And then bring it back down. Now lift the back knee up just a little bit as you start to rock back so you don't roll right over the back knee. And we're bringing the front leg forward. We're going to come deeper into the hamstring here. So now my foot is lifted. I'm pressing into the back of the heel. Try to pull the nose towards your foot. And just try to sink that hamstring down towards the mat. So a little deeper into that hamstring stretch right here. Several breaths. So we're not holding as long as yin, but we're trying to hold the stretches, maybe close to a minute now. We started out a little bit slower. But as the body's starting to loosen up, holding the poses a little bit longer so it can go a little deeper into the stretch. Welcome, Stephanie. And then slide in and we'll switch that out. So bring the left leg forward, coming onto the front of that kneecap. So it's kind of pulling, locking in. So it's right here, the edge of that kneecap locks in. So you feel that stretch in the hip flexor. And then you can keep the hands on the ground, or you can come up, maybe resting on the left elbow. And then if you want that little bit more, bring that right arm up. Feeling that stretch all through here. And then you can add the side bend if you want even more. And breathe. We don't want to go anywhere that we feel we need to hold our breath. Nice, 2 more breaths here. And then bring the hands down, lift that back knee up a little bit, and then start to set back. I just don't want you to squish that crunch right over it. And then we're trying to kind of lock into the heel and lengthen the leg long. And then stretch through the spine a little bit as you pull the ears forward away from the shoulders. Looking slightly ahead, so I'm not looking back at my belly button or my back leg. I'm looking forward, keeping that neck in alignment. Holding here, taking that hamstring stretch that we started with a little bit deeper. Nice. And then from here, we'll move into pigeon by coming in, bringing this front right leg across the mat, straightening our shin across, and then lifting up off that back hip. Now, if you, for whatever reason, don't like pigeon in this position, you can always take that left ankle, cross it here. Somebody did this pose this week, right? Seated pigeon, and you can take the stretch here. Perfectly awesome place to be. Was it Christine, I think maybe, that did it? So you can take that pigeon in either position. And then if you're here in this position, work into that hip, and then you can even come down onto your elbows. You could lay down onto your chest, wherever. And you could also take it reclining too. You could lay it on the floor, on your back. So there's 3 places. If you're in the pigeon in the way that I'm in it, kind of our typical pigeon here, try not to let yourself sink over into this left hip. I'm trying to pull my body across, lifting this hip bone, this left hip bone, up a little bit, so I'm not collapsing in to the left hip. A few more breaths here. Nice. And then we'll kind of lift our chest up and curl your back right toes under to help you step out of that. So you step slightly into downward facing dog, and then we'll work to bring the right leg forward. And work that left leg back behind us, or right ankle over the left knee, scooting into your seated pigeon here. So whichever one of those positions. Now, the more that we have this front shin parallel with our mat, the deeper that stretch is going to be. So mine comes in a little bit, right? My hip is a little bit too tight. The more I can straighten it out, the more I can get it parallel, the deeper the stretch will be. And then slightly flex your foot, so you're not really pointing your foot. Flex it slightly. And then try to pull up and off of that right glute. Think about your 2 hip bones being parallel to each other, not sinking into the right side. And then we will hold this side. Letting that hip release. A couple more breaths here. And then this is where you can let yourself come back onto that right hip a little bit. swing that left leg around, coming into straddle. So take your time working into straddle. If you don't like straddle, you can always take butterfly, bringing the bottoms of the feet together. Great inner thigh stretch. I like to start with my hands behind me here. So I'm kind of pulling out through my spine and leaning forward. So a lot of times when we allow our hands to come forward, we automatically start rounding and tucking our head in. And that's not really what we're after here. We're after leaning forward, lengthening the spine. Gently flex the feet. Lean forward. And then you can bring your hands in front of you, but don't use that as a place to they go, oh, let me round. Keep lengthening forward here. It's not that we don't ever round, sometimes we do, especially in yin. It's a releasing, relaxing, parasympathetic, stimulating position. But in the stretch class right now, I want you getting a little deeper into that inner thigh. So don't round. Keep thinking about pulling the crown of the head forward. Only to the point that feels okay to you. Don't try to overdo. And then you might find you can take the stretch a little bit deeper if you think about taking your glutes and actually squeezing your glutes a little bit. So when we're stretching one side of our body, if we contract the opposite side, that's going to allow the part we're stretching to go a little bit deeper. We don't do that in yin, but in a stretch class, if you want to challenge yourself to go slightly deeper, think about squeezing the glutes together and then folding forward a little bit more. And then once you're in the position, you can relax to work the glutes a little bit. And that's a way to get a little deeper into a stretch by contracting the opposition. And then come on up. Ease, ease, ease the legs in. Just place the feet on the floor, windshield wiper them a few times. So we just did quite the number around the hips. Just let them be a little bit released. And then we'll come up into the upper body and get some stretches there. Starting with the shoulder rollover. That was one of my stretches this week. So if you come on, we'll just do the same just to make it easy to explain. If we all sit kind of on our left hip, swing our legs over to our right and reach the left arm back behind us as you come down onto your side. Now, if you are somewhere at work and you're like, oh, I don't want to lay on the ground, then no worries. Just stay seated and just work on opening the chest here. So you could do just one side here, or you could work on the interlacing of your arms and opening your chest here if you don't want to lay down. But if you're good with laying down, then come on down onto it. And then from here, you can stay here, or you can add reaching that right leg back behind you. And that's going to add some hip stretch into it as well. Now you're getting multiple stretches. And then again, you can stay here, or you can take the right arm and let it open behind you. Now in the video and in yin, I always talk about you can always bring a pillow underneath your head or a yoga block so it keeps that neck in alignment. So if that feels uncomfortable on your neck at all, you can also just come out of it. This starts to be a pretty deep stretch in this bottom left chest, left shoulder. And this right arm can hang out in space, or it can kind of wrap behind you. And I'm really not letting my head rest on the ground here because I want to keep the neck in alignment. So if I don't have a pillow, I'm just kind of letting it hover. Nice. And then to come out, we bring the arm out first if it was back there. Then we bring the legs out. Then you can just relax for just a moment here. And then we'll come up and over and we'll finish with the other side. So we are officially out of time in about 15 seconds, but I want us to get the other side. So take that right arm back behind you, come on down. So if you don't have to rush off, stick around, let's get this other side. And then I can stay right here, or I can reach the left leg behind me. Starting to lift my head up off the ground a little bit so my neck's in alignment. And then maybe reach the left arm. You can hang out in space or I can tuck it behind me. And we'll pause here just a few more breaths. So thank you so much. If you do have to run, I know I'm taking you about a minute over. It always happens when I end with needing to do two sides. And then come on out. You can kind of rest gently here for a second. And then make your way up. So if you've got a couple extra minutes in your day, perfect place to take a little Shavasana. Feel free, but I'm going to come up and unmute everybody and end our recording. Let me turn our recording off.